welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome for your wonderful, spiritual, soulful morning. Let's start our beautiful morning by going deep within and finding 10 things to be grateful for in the last 24 hours. Let's take 90 seconds or 100 seconds and circle back after we have practiced a gratitude prayer. Let's be grateful for this wonderful morning, which is yet another beginning of a beautiful day full of love, light, and promise. Let's hope for this day to unfold magically with more of our passion, our zest, and us being as part of it. In true sense, uncompromised, the real true self. Let's align back with our breath and do 10 rounds of deep breathing. With every breath in, we're grateful for life. With every breath out, we release what is no longer required. This is a time for assimilation and elimination. You can also twist this a bit and receive all the virtues that you'd like to receive and release all the ill habits which you think you have. So once again, take 100 odd seconds, be aligned with your breath, maybe more, and then come back. Every breath should be minimum a round of 4 breaths, wherein you hold for 5 counts, release for 5, inhale and excuse me. Once done, you'll align back. Life is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to understand, to reflect, to ponder, to analyze, to strategize, and to live, to celebrate. All of us gathered here are looking forward to some soul learnings, to make our soul so expansive that when it's chosen this body, this life on Mother Earth, may each of us consciously make our soul's choice worthwhile. It's on us to create a life which can be meaningful, purposeful, loveful, heartful. And it's true that in life, there are some energies that weigh us down. But it's also true that we are the ones who can take that energy down or out. Today, let's understand about vibrations, about energy, the myths around it. As our eyes are closed for the vision outside, then our sensory organs become more empowered, and whatever we hear, it gets imbibed more deeply. So let's make our sensory organs understand something more today, apart from just what it's hearsay. How is it that they say when there are negative vibes around, a person's energy becomes negative? And why is it that they say when there's positivity around, a person's energy becomes positive? This is a myth. Let's take, for example, that we have a guru or a teacher, whoever you can think of. If somebody wants, somebody can think of their gurus. I can think of my teachers, say Pema Chundran, the nun that I believe in, or I can think of Nitya Shanti, or anybody that I believe in. You can think of anybody that you believe in who are ascended masters. You could even think of Mother Teresa if you can't think of any of your teachers. Per se, any of our revered ones, they're human beings, right? Let's think in the angle that they're living. Now, when they're living, and per se, they have lost somebody very dear to them. And they're human beings. If it's a normal human being, he or she will gripped with grief. He or she would be lamenting, would be crying, would be howling, would be probably hysterical. Some of us would be probably calm, but there would be a furor of emotions going on inside our heart, which we're not showing out. We just shut ourselves down. What do you think will the energy of us be? It's important to know that if in terms of loss, we have lost, our energy doesn't get pulled down. Our energy is intact. Energy gets pulled down when we allow the others the liberty to take it from us by allowing their words, their thoughts, their actions, their deeds to work on us. And then we allow depletion of our energy. Yes, company matters, environment matters. But most important, company and environment is our own. What are our beliefs? What are our principles? Who are we? What is it that we believe in? Once we start understanding and relating ourselves to our world, our inner world, nothing said or done will take it away from us. We're all here for some rhyme, some reason. Let's tune into ourselves and find our authentic self. And let's all understand that authenticity comes from the heart and the mind and the soul and the entire functioning. Because as a person, we have to understand I'm neither the mind nor the body. Now, when we say I'm neither the mind nor the body, we're talking about a subconscious mind, which is coming in with the soul. That is one set. So I here am the soul. I come in a particular body deciding that this is where I will live for this long a period. It's like the way we probably wear the finest of our suit and go with a bow tie if you're a man and go for some nice party, or being a woman if you wear the finest of sari or the gown or whatever you wish to wear. That's something that you're wearing. Similarly, the soul, the soul, I'm wearing you, the body, as a garment. And the monkey mind, which you have, the monkey mind which you have is your own. That's your conscious. And when I come in it, we say consciousness. Where are you? How are you conscious? One consciousness happens when you're aware of your dwellings, your environment, your ambience. One consciousness happens when you're aware of your dwelling, you're conscious, you're within what's happening. There are two worlds, one inside, one outside. Are you tuned into your internal world? If I say a lie, then I know, my heart knows that I have said a lie. The other person may believe, because the way I've said the lie, the other person may believe it to be true. But my consciousness knows it's a lie. It's imperative that we tune inwards and understand, where are we resonating from? What thoughts are coming in? There are times that your heart wants something, but the body doesn't agree. Have you spoken to your body? Body is the most important tool. To continue any kind of a soulful action, a body is required, which is why I, the soul, chooses a body and chooses an atmosphere, for I know that my soul's purpose will be manifested through this body. So when their desires and their conflicts, that's something that I, the human, can relate to. But if I, the soul, has some worries, and if the body understands, if the conscious mind understands that my subconscious mind, my soul needs a particular lesson to be learned, and it's teaching me, but I'm not clear about it, then how do I understand? As a conscious being, simply relate to your body, talk to it, understand, make it understand that our soul, who's chosen us, which gives us the very life that we live, wants to walk this path. But the conscious mind is not ready for it. And then the body just starts giving different signals. A body is like a small child. It has tantrums. It listens to us. But when imagine that there is a small child, it's creating a tantrum, and you say, no, do what I'm saying. Will the child listen? No. He or she will throw her weight around and make you notice him or her. That's what the body does. It makes us notice it by falling sick, by doing something, by the pains coming up, by retaliating. But if you speak to your body, the same body's intelligence will help you accomplish the goal. You here are the other conscious self. We are all in the spiritual journey trying to find our truth. Our first most truth, our true self is our soul, which comes from a place of unconditional love and bright luminescent light. To further on this journey, it acquires with it a body and a mind and a heart. If there's a body with no mind, it will not be able to further the purpose of the soul unless the soul has some karmic balances that it needs to balance out. Let's also understand that any human being who is not open and receptive to receiving love will one day fall sick and dependent on somebody else because you have a karmic baggage. And that's what happens. If I've been given a choice, Prachi, you have a karmic baggage, and Prachi here is not Prachi, it's a soul Kamal, that you have a karmic baggage. Now, would you choose 40 years of suffering, or you would choose 2 years of complete bed rest where you would be handled by so and so person so that your karmic baggage is equalized because you have never received love, you have only given love? What would you choose? Similarly, all of us should know that give and take is equally important. If we keep taking love and don't give it, there are karmic baggages. If we keep giving love and don't take, there are karmic baggages. So let our soul and our heart and our mind and our body become so expansive to be able to take love and to be able to give love. If we resist something and do not accept it, now relate this with any disease or any trouble that you're going through. Something is happening to you. Now, that something could be weight, it could be blood pressure, it could be diabetes, it could be body ache, or any kind of a disease. It is happening to you. You here are the conscious self, the human self. But you, the human self, do not want to accept that this problem is happening to me. And you're like, no, I'm going to avoid it. I'll put it under the carpet. Arre, aisa kuch bhi nahi hai. What you resist persists. That's eternal truth. The minute you accept that, okay, this is happening, the problem starts going away because it is no longer a problem. You've accepted it as a reality. And the minute you accept, things fade away. So, very imperative for all of us to go deep down, to understand, to break some myths. When energy is energy, how it is channeled makes it good or bad. There's actually nothing called bad energy. It's just lack of more love. It's who we can, it's who we choose, what kind we take ourselves in, and transform ourselves by going to the next level. If somebody is over positive, even that can be toxic. So, acceptance of life is good. A positive mindset is good, but not looking at the reality, which could be negative, is false. Because how can there be just a life with only goodness filled in? Can we keep saying that there can be only days and no nights? In that case, we would be in a Norwegian country. We would be in Iceland. We wouldn't be in that belt. We would be in Sweden, right? Where the long days and the night is not there. Where 3 o'clock in the afternoon it's night. but they also have a little light. When we go against Mother Nature, everything tends to fall apart. It's extremely important to understand our role play in this cosmic world. We all here for a reason. Let's stay with this truth today and analyze and ponder. Take some time to ground yourself. You can rub your hands, you can put your feet on the ground, you can take a sip of water, maybe wash your face. If you feel the energies become a bit heavy, and then gently, with any ritual that is comforting to you, open your eyes. And now we'll be reading our book again, Miracles Happen. And in this beautiful book, we've all been reading, understanding that how miracles are happening one after another. So today we're going to read about yet another experience, namely the Shavite symbol. At your professional training in Austin, Texas, we're reading this book, Miracles Happen, with Dr. Brian Weiss, where his clients, patients, people that he works with, that he's acted as a therapist with, they've all come on to a convention, and whatever they've experienced there are 130 of them there, and whatever they've experienced there, they are talking about that. So, at your professional training in Austin, Texas, I personally experienced high definition regressions that altered my life for the better. I also had an unplanned shared consciousness event with a complete stranger. That event is etched in my mind forever. The stranger I have mentioned was another man who was attending your training at the same time I was. My wife and I had sat at mealtimes beside this very fine fellow who was a psychiatrist from Canada. His story is my story. As this man and I talked at supper one night, he was somewhat saddened by the fact that he was having no regressions. While I had released mine to him and had expressed to him that I was in disbelief, if not shock, from everything that I had encountered. I began to feel a strong empathy for him, and I found myself quite concerned that he found his way to an experience. Part of this was that I recognized that his ability to do so could have a great impact on his patients, as well as on himself. His situation stayed on my mind and in my heart. During a coffee break at one of the sessions, I stumbled across Brian and Carol out back of the building and trying to excuse myself. They would not have done it. They would have none of it. And so I told them of the psychiatrist and the good that I thought he could do should he have a regression. The next day, Brian called him up for a demonstration in front of the class, and he had a marvelous and detailed regression during which he was being trained by a holy man in ancient India many centuries ago in order to assume his place as a provincial ruler. He went on to have a coronation ceremony. The detail was remarkable. I was so happy that Brian had undertaken the regression for the psychiatrist, and I sat through the majority of it with my eyes shut, grateful to the extent that I guess you should call it a relief. While my eyes were shut, I had the sudden picture in my head of some oddly shaped symbol which looked like a bug. It was quite distant and clear, but I had no idea that it was or why it would appear during this fellow's regression. That evening, my wife and I sat with the psychiatrist at supper. I told him how glad I was for him, and he told me how he was undergoing the transitional type of thinking that I had had earlier in the week upon first experiencing a past life. As we discussed the regression, I mentioned the weird symbol that I had seen while he had been hypnotized. He asked me what it was. I told him that I had no clue, but could draw it for him. I took a napkin and drew it, and he got a look at his face, and
And he got a look on his face that I cannot describe. Somewhat astonished and serious at the same time, he stated, "That is the symbol that was on the flags at my coronation." He did not know what it was, nor did I. By this time in the week, I had resigned myself to being freaked out about my experience of being regressed. But this was too much. Now I was experiencing shared consciousness with a total stranger. I spent the next several years trying to find out what the symbol meant. I wrote to universities in India. I called people, never telling them the truth, but simply saying I saw this somewhere and was trying to figure out what it was. No one had any clue. My wife and I went on an Alaskan cruise, and prior to going, I signed up for a Reiki class in Seattle. Bear in mind, before attending your past life regression seminar, I thought that such people were nuts, or how experience can humble and enlighten. And this is something true for all of us, right? If we talk about past life regression, some people believe in it, and some people think, what voodoo are we talking about, right? But when we experience the PLR, when we see that we can go in a past life, it's so humbling. It's so enlightening. It's so enlightening to know that our body stores within it a powerhouse of memories of a past life, and we have been so many versions. And then we realize that this life is a gift. There is so much we can do. But yet, the dichotomy, the irony of life is that there's so little that we do. Because we are wise beyond words, we don't even tap into 5% of our wisdom. Back to the book. As we left the Reiki class, we asked the instructor if she knew where any coffee shops were in Seattle. And she said that the only one she was familiar was kind of different, as it served Indian food and was in a unique part of town. We got directions and we went. I asked several people there if they had ever seen the symbol before, as I drew pictures of it for them. They had not. As we prepared to leave, we went over to the old bookstore part of the shop. When I checked out, the fellow at the counter said, "Did you find everything you need?" I replied, "Everything except the one thing I was looking for." He inquired what it was, stating that he was well versed in India's history and asked me to draw it for him. And so I did. He knew immediately what it was: a small sect's portrayal of a Shaivite symbol. It had only been drawn by a limited number of people. 5 years after seeing the symbol in a stranger's regression, I was finally led to another stranger who could explain it, says Raymond Wilson. Now, Dr. Bryan says Raymond's fascinating story reveals how his empathic connection to the Canadian psychiatrist opened his own intuitive capacities. With his eyes gently closed during the other's regression, he rather suddenly saw the oddly shaped Shavite symbol. The psychiatrist validated Raymond's vision at dinner that night. 5 years later, Raymond received a second validation at the old bookstore in Seattle. After reading this account, I remembered that after returning home from that Texas workshop, I had dictated some of my own recollections of that week's experiences. I quickly found my notes about Nikhil, the psychiatrist. Nikhil's first past life memory was from about 2,500 years ago in ancient India. Nikhil was a 6-year-old boy surrounded by other children, one of whom was his best friend. He could see the guru of the place where he lived. The guru wore no shirt but a string of sandalwood beads, which Nikhil could smell. His senses had become heightened during the regression. The guru taught the boys lessons, and later Nikhil collected firewood and performed other chores. Sitting around the fire, holding hands in a circle, he heard and was able to repeat to the entire workshop group the Guru's teachings about humility, simplicity, giving, compassion, and kindness. Nikhil had a second past life memory in India in which he was a prince of a small kingdom. In that life, his best friend had sacrificed his life in a battle in order to save the life of Nikhil. In his current life, this friend is his sister in law. The memory helped to explain much of the relationship, the immediate connection, a sense of safety, security, and deep friendship. Raymond's journey of validation took 5 years until the Shevite symbol was identified. Nikhil's transformation was immediate, especially as he remembered and incorporated the 2500-year-old wisdom. These teachings are age old, yet they could not be more relevant today. The lessons of the masters shared with us through Catherine, and they're the lessons of all great spiritual traditions. We are to be humble, kind, generous, compassionate. And this is very important. Just yesterday, I was seeing myself and I was like, where am I coming from? I was in a very happy state yesterday, the entire day, because my grandparents are moving out of their beautiful, gorgeous bungalow in New Friends Colony in Delhi to an apartment right opposite my parents' house on the same in the same building on the same floor, because Delhi doesn't have high-rise buildings, but NCR has, and that's where Chalmswood Surajkund is. And I was like looking at their old furniture, their old artwork, their old artifacts. I'm like, how beautiful, and they want to recreate their home here. And yesterday for the first day, I was thinking that now I'm comfortable with New Friends Colony being locked down or put on rent because my grandparents aren't secure anymore because they're in their Bauji's 90 and Maya's 86. I was like, all right, they want to go near their daughter and they're buying a new house and we are settling the new house. And finally, I accepted. All along, I was like, this is why, how can they leave the house? This is the house that I have built with my little tiny hands, choosing the marble, choosing the color of the sink and my bed and everything around and my piano. How can they do this to my house? This is my nani hal. This is my nani ghar. When I was coming back, driving back, I spoke to my best friend Ruchi and her sister Ritu, and I do not know why and how I felt that we don't act, the people like those girls were not accepting the reality. And I just want to shake both of them, like as if physically shake them, get out of this. Because I was in their shoes just a while ago that I was not accepting what was happening in the reality. And the day I accepted, I loved the new house, even though it's identical to my parents because it's in a building and but just the way it's shaping up with absolutely its own beautiful essence. But when I wanted to shake up these girls, the egoistic me came up. And soon after, when I hung the conversation, I was like, I wasn't in a good space. I should have allowed them to revel in whatever they were. It was not my place to tell them that they are not in the right place. I should have been more kind, more generous, more compassionate. But what happened? I became, I felt, I became like a very different version of me came up. And I wasn't happy about it. I just wasn't happy on how it was unfolding. Maybe the possessive me got unsettled because my bestie was being made to think, and she or maybe herself was thinking something. And I was like, this is not the space. I actually hung up the conversation on a little rude note. Can't you even hear? Can't you even see? To both of the girls. So it's very important for us to reflect on what we do wrong. So the next time when something like this comes, we realize that I can go wrong. My kind, my generous, my compassionate nature can be turned into maybe ego, maybe arrogance, maybe not being generous. So it's very important to reflect on who we are and what we become at given points of time. Dr. Brian Weiss says we are spiritual beings, and this is how spiritual beings feel and act, which is kindness, generosity, humility. This is timeless vision, and this is how we can save the world. Raymond could see into Nikhil's past life and envision the symbol displayed on his coronation flags. While watching a female workshop participant undergo regression, Eileen, who tells the story next, opened her own intuitive eyes to find this face of an ancient male monk looking back at her. Past life regressions are quite literally transformative. Eileen accomplished this feat spontaneously, but in my book, Through Time into Healing, I describe an exercise called Faces that can enable you to experience it for yourself. Sit a few feet across from a friend with the lights dim, with soft music in the background. Look into the other person's face, watch to see if the person's face changes, observe and describe the changes you see. Features often do appear to change. Eyes, nose, hairstyle dissolve and reform. Headgear sometimes appears. You can also try this exercise alone by using a mirror and observing the changes you see in your own face. The only secret to faces is to make sure you try it in a dimly lit room. This frees up the left brain and allows easier passage of intuitive impressions. Faces can provide clues to many different past lives, as in other methods, meditation, visualization, and or free association to the observed changes can fill out the memory. Let them expand and develop without censoring the material. A face may become a group of faces, or a whole scene may unfold behind the face. You may hear a voice or an important word. Try it and see. This faces is something which I did once. I did it with like very, very dim light, and I put a big mirror in front of me. In fact, I sat down in front of a mirror, and then I saw that my own face changed. I had put a candlelight actually, and then I saw that I looked so different. Things were changing, and then I saw one face that I had seen in PLR also. हमारे फेस के पीछे बहुत सारे फेसेस हैं, बहुत सारी लेयर्स हैं जो हमने पहनी हुई हैं. जब हम स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में आते हैं, we are consciously releasing ourselves of these layers, and that in itself is absolutely cathartic. It's very healing. The next story, a monk's wisdom. I was at a workshop in New York State in 2008. I didn't have any past life memories, but I did experience profound meditations during those group sessions, as well as a very interesting meditation one evening with another participant. I was not a practitioner and had gone there on my own. One of the participants, a woman named Erin, was upset about two of her past life memories, of which I knew nothing. I only knew that she was saddened. The next day, Brian regressed Erin to a prior lifetime that was rather criminal and violent. She sensed death and corruption, firearms even. It was not a nice place to be. Another memory was of being a man in Southeast Asia, working on the land and the water, feeling lonely. Much sadness and dark shadows were in these memories, and loneliness prevailed. The next regression was to a place that would throw light on or explain these two regressions that brought such sadness. Erin found herself in a place of great learning, an ancient library with people sitting around a huge table and writing in all possible languages. Books of learning and knowing were kept there. They had to be hidden away in case of attack or war. She spoke of this place as containing the truths of the world. As a regression was occurring on the stage, I looked at Erin and stopped seeing her face and body. Instead, I saw the face and body of a monk. This monk's head was huge, and his eyebrows were very long, fine, dark, and pronounced. His face was highly intelligent and clear skinned. I blinked my eyes numerous times to see if I was being deceived by angles or light, but he remained. He was a big man wearing a brown monk's habit that had a huge fold over V-necked collar running from shoulder to shoulder. The monk, as Erin spoke these words of wisdom, all religions have boundaries which are causing divisions, and this is not the purpose. We must look beyond the boundaries, beyond the narrowness. We must know the truth that life is eternal and there are important times on earth. The truth of knowing is that we are all one. We must become aware of the knowledge and the truth and seek union, not separation. Knowing is deeper, almost than wisdom, and it is an eternal shift in perception. I knew the implication of the words. I knew that knowing is union with a deep soul and God within. There was not a sound in that room. Perceptions were extremely heightened, especially for me. I had the idea that the place where Erin was had high walls and ladders to the volumes. I think that she said this. I also had the idea that this place was ancient and somewhere on earth. I'm not sure if she said this, but I recollect the image in my mind when she was brought back. The monk disappeared, and there Erin was again. Brian told Erin that she had experienced the sad lives because it was necessary for her to have the understanding of those things in her life journey, and all of this was for her learning on earth. It was important for her to know that she was highly developed. I'd sketched an outline of the head of the monk. It was nothing more than bare lines on my notepad. I felt the urge to speak with her, but we then all went into the group progressions of 200 and 2,000 years ahead, and there I was again in the stars. I felt compelled to ask Erin about the place she had seen and if she had been with monks. I managed to speak to her by pushing in front of someone who was already talking with her. It was a bit rude, but I had to leave immediately on my way to ask. Erin told me that the place she had seen was somewhere between England and Scotland. I wondered if it was Lindisfarne, which is near the borders of Spain and England, England and Scotland. So I asked her to sketch the place on my notepad. She did. Drew the outline of the British Isles and the European continent. She showed an island to the very southwest of the British Isles, and then she drew the North American continent. This island off the southwest of British Isles, where is Cornwall, and which is around the Sicily Isles. She drew in harder outline, and then she drew some smaller islands to the east side of the North American continent. She said that she had seen on she what she had seen was on this island, the one near the Sicily Isles. I was quite astounded because this is a reputed area of Avalon, beyond the Sicily Isles, where King Arthur rests. I realized that Erin spoke of Scotland and England because most people didn't know about the British Isles, which is why I had first thought of Lindisfarne. But she meant the southwestern region and those long hidden islands west of Sicily Isles that I found amazing. Afterward, I pondered all of these things and tried to recollect everything. I am aware of knowing beyond earthly perceptions, and the deep truths and words of the monk were of such things. My knowledge of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table is such that while I am aware it is a legend, I am equally aware that the stories come from the Druids, which were based in England beyond 5,000 years ago, and the family of Arthur was pagan, Druid, and of the old religious religion Merlin. Arthur brought together the old and the new when Christianity came to the British Isles. He signified the unifying forces of the two coming together. Where I live now in Brittany was equally a Druid place, and in fact, the Druids were still there. Much of the land had not been developed industrially, but there are ancient places untouched, including an area of graves and other stones from at least 3,000 years ago. There are many holy wells in this area that date from the before Christianity. When Christianity came, the wells were kept for religious purposes and churches were built nearby. So the link between the old and the new was a unifying force, not a separating one. Indeed, there is a chapel near me, that was originally a Druid workshop place. Then, when the Romans came, it was turned into a chapel to Venus, and later on, it became a Christian church. This fascinates me because it shows the seamless adaptation of monuments and ancient holy places of worship from age to age without conflict or division. And this, of course, makes me think of the profound words of the monk that I saw in Erin, says Ellen de Bruin. Now, Dr. Weiss explains. Eileen observed the monk in Erin just as effortlessly as she observed the metamorphosis from nature's cathedral to temple to chapel to earth to church. I remembered once visiting a mosque built upon the ruins of a Christian church, which had been built upon the ruins of a Roman temple, which itself had been built upon the ruin of an even more ancient Greek temple. Archaeological reincarnation manifested as seamlessly as a reincarnation of our souls, just as Eileen had described. During a regression, Erin spoke as a monk of how religions often divide, whereas spirituality unifies and connects. Whether it is Nikhil echoing his long ago guru, or Erin the primal druidic knowledge, the messages are so similar. We must treat each other as loving family because we are the same. Each one of us is connected. We have walked on the moon and we have split the atom, yet we still discriminate the wage wars in the name of religion. We seem to only see the differences in our faiths and not the shared truths. We miss the forest for the trees. There is a classic parable in which blind men were permitted to feel only one part of an elephant and were then asked to describe an elephant's form and nature. Some men felt the tail and declared an elephant to be like a rope. Those who touched the trunk deemed it like a snake. The ones touching its leg thought it to be like a pillar. The ones who felt the ears touched had their own differing thoughts. All were correct, yet all were wrong. What they were right about the particular features, but not about the whole. It is as if we were those blind men to find the spiritual core of our religions. The whole is more important than the particular parts. Isn't the story, back to when we heard it? And isn't it so beautifully related with religion and spirituality? When we are blind, we see a part of it. So religion makes us in a way blind and makes us see only a part of it. The larger picture is lost. So if we look at religion and teachings as teachings and not just to follow it like a cult, then we are on the spiritual path because we're learning the wisdom. But if we are in the rut lane कि मुझे ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है कि मेरी religion में लिखा है, then we are kind of dividing ourselves. But if we are following what the religion is teaching us to do some practices, and we're not saying that we are doing it because of religion, we are doing it because this is the way I think that spirituality is achieved, then it's great. Perception matters. Eric speaks precisely of this core when she says, we must know the truth that life is eternal, the truth of knowing that we are all one and seek union, not separation. Remembering our past lives and mystical state of death allows such knowing. Knowing is so much deeper than belief, reason, or logic. It is a fruit of direct experience and its power is immense. It heals and it liberates. Knowing the truth of our spiritual essence can soothe the world and bring about peace because those who know will renounce violence and embrace compassion. Life is eternal. We are all one. To hate or to harm another is to hate and harm yourself. Violence harms us immediately because we are all connected. Violence also harms us subsequently because its karmic debt has to be repaid, often in a future lifetime. And what happens when we allow religion or nationality or other similar characteristics to become the basis of such violence? We need only to turn on the news to find the answer. The author of the final story of this chapter remembered a past life in the Holocaust, and her account certainly offers another example. However, and even more important, it presents the antithesis, a world where we transcend our divisions rather than perpetuate them, where we unite together to form one loving and whole world, and where everyone matters, everyone is equal, and where there are no barriers to separate us. It's so beautiful, right? Even right now, what is happening? Consciousness rise over your spirituality के डंका बजा हुआ है, yet you see what is happening in one part of the world. The Hamas, uh, Israel and Palestine, they're again at war. That area has a consciousness. They attract war with each other. In this time and age, barbaric acts are happening. In this time and age, Ukraine and Russia at war for the last 2.5 years. Why? Because many souls need the early retirement. It sounds easier than it's done. People who are going through atrocities are going through them. But the fact of the matter is that we all can really improve on our consciousness, on our level of thinking. I would like to take 10 minutes of ours here in this wonderful morning and help you relax. So, those of you who want to meditate longer, this is the clue for you. For those of you who don't wish to meditate longer, you can probably do it later when you can relax a bit more. I'm guided to take you into a very deep trance where you can realize your own soul's truth. So, some of you may want to sleep or lie down for a little longer. Do that if you can, and it will be beneficial for your own journey. So, requesting everybody to take a deep breath in, a knowing deep breath, and exhale lovingly, willingly, and letting go. And now, you're lying down or sitting down very comfortably, lazing, relaxing as if, and yet you're meditating. Imagine yourself on this beautiful cloud, a cloud so soft, it's like cotton. It caresses wherever you touch it. And this beautiful cloud is so gigantic. You're like a little thing in there. And that is what is your heaven right now. This cloud envelopes you. Every part of your body is like lightly being massaged. Now imagine this cloud take the shape of a beautiful, wonderful reclining chair. Your feet are supported, your hands are supported. There are chairs in there, armrests in there. Your neck is supported, your body is supported. And it's like the softest possible cushion where you've sunk in. And you're like, oh wow, what a world. The feeling is as similar as when you touch a stuffed toy, how soft it is. So you are right now being massaged by this beautiful cloud. And you're so comfortable, so rested. There is time for you to go deep into your own being. As I count from 10 to 0, you would be so deep into your being. 10. You've shut your eyes a little more, blocking anything from the outside world. 9. You're going in deeper and deeper as if there's a big viral staircase going deeper in your own consciousness. One more step down with number 8. Keep walking down, going deep within your consciousness. 7. Let go of any kind of extra layers. 6. You're so light and energetic that you're able to easily go down. 5. You go down to see everything so much more calmer, more beautiful, more full of love, more full of light. You keep going down. 4. Sink in lower. 3. More in your depths. And 1. You're here in this beautiful, comfortable space on the beautiful mountain of yours, the beautiful cushion of yours, cloud of yours. It's here that you understand more about love, unconditional love for yourself first, thanking your soul for choosing this body, for making this beautiful heart, for giving you this wonderful mind that can slow down or accelerate and become creative. Be in your own world. Thoughts, shapes, sizes will come. Creativity will unfold. Relaxation is there. You are so deep within your world, and now any garbage that comes to you, people complaining, talking about toxicity, ridiculing something, any politics, any gossip, you just stay away, clear from all of that. You excuse yourself with some reason and you shift your space. Or if you're still there, you hear it but don't let it go inside you. You simply make it reflect away by not letting the energy bother you. You have now decided to become a better version of yourself. And now, as you are in this space, you're only going to go deeper and deeper. Let the thoughts, ideas, creativity, whatever your soul wishes to communicate with you come through. Wake up when you feel the need to wake up. And when you wake up, just ground yourself. Enjoy this beautiful phase of inner growth. May the lights shine bright on you. Be blessed.